Welcome to Ring Talk, the weekly Goodwin boxing YouTube show. Again, we've got Steve Goodwin with us this week. We've got a number of questions from yourselves. We're going to dive straight in with some talk about the newest signing for Goodwin Boxing. Highly talented prospect, somebody who's almost verging on the myth of being a boxer, but we're now going to get to see him as a pro, Junior Salba.
Yeah, fantastic. We've been working on it, or Kevin's been working on it for a year. Junior's been having trouble for whatever reason getting his licence approved. He was due to fight on a Floyd Mayweather undercard in America. There's problems there, but you know that's in the past now. Kevin worked on it for a year. It all came through last week. Obviously, I'm meeting Junior this week on Thursday, and we're going to be discussing exactly what we're up to and what we're planning. We've got some plans in mind, and we expect him to be fighting on major shows, and he'll be built obviously at the right pace because we'll be managing that, but it's going to be very exciting times ahead.
Are you anticipating major shows from the debut or major shows down the line?
From debut.
Okay.
I would hope to see, but building a boxer from scratch is all about all about building the career correctly. I have a theory that which is generally that a debut boxer, unless you are on Olympian money and on Olympian terms, should not sign a long-term contract with a particular promoter, not a 2-year, 3-year deal with a promoter. I think it's restrictive. I think there's more heartache than there is success doing it that way. So we will, if you're talented enough, you shine through, and it's a case of me managing and navigating a super talent, which he is, the correct way through without getting him tied into any contractual obligations that he doesn't want to be under and regret signing. So that's something that I'm going to be looking at doing. Yeah.
So to clarify, he's cleared to fight, he's licensed.
He will be fighting May or June.
Excellent. So, I mean, it was brilliant on Saturday down at the show. Whose idea was it? For those that weren't there and those that haven't seen the footage, Junior was given his own ring walk just before the main event. Came down cool as you like in his black leather jacket, jeans, name up on the screen, and just got in and did a bit of a talk with Brett Hollywood, the MC.
It was my idea.
Was it?
I dropped it on everybody in the car on the way down the York. I said, I've got this idea, and I think it's actually quite a nice thing to do. You can't do it every time because otherwise everybody would get used to it. But now and again, it's a nice thing to do for boxers to give them their own ring walk and ring entrance, and especially when they've signed or if they've gone and won something major. So I think that's something that is quite a nice thing to do.
It's a nice touch. And there were a lot of people there. Now, Isaac Chamberlain was down ringside, that he knows Junior very well. A lot of people that got vested interest in seeing Junior be a success.
And they must have sat there and thought, well, that's a nice thing to do as well. Isaac, see something like that happen. So I think it's really good. But now we've done all that. Now the serious work starts, and that's when my role as a manager comes in. And I think I'm looking forward to working with him and doing things the way that I believe that a boxer who has the potential to be a TV and a real top-level fighter should be handled from inception. And I think what I want to do is I do believe that a lot of boxers don't do it the right way. So hopefully we're going to show everybody the right way.
Excellent. So hopefully we'll see him out April, May time. Which will mean he'll be off.
May, June time.
May, June time. Sorry, so he'll be off scribbling away in camp soon and getting himself prepared. Do you know what weight he's going to be fighting at?
Super feather.
Okay. He's quite tall, super feather.
Yeah, he's quite tall, but he hasn't fought for a long time, has he? So very important. He's done the right way, and we're looking to build him up with regular fights, and to build him to the level where when we go for big titles we're going to win them, because this isn't about winning a Southern Area or an English or even a British title. It's beyond that. The plan is far beyond that. It's the world level with him. So we want to build him in that way.
If you want to know more about Junior, go and read the piece I wrote with him.
By the way, great piece. New Age Boxing. Go and read it.
Go and have a read of it. Right, so we'll move on from that to the action of Saturday night. Obviously, we'll start with the headline. Bradpool versus Burton. Southern Area middleweight eliminator. It was a dominant performance, wasn't it, really? It was
Brad performed well. I think he just done everything that he needed to do, and I think he also learnt a lot from doing 10 rounds.
He
also 9 rounds. But he learnt a lot about how to pace the fight, which when he goes on is going to stand him in good stead. Diego put up a good, resilient battle. I think Diego's probably not as good as he was when he fought, say, Joe Mullender a few years ago. I think that showed. And Diego's now retired after the fight. Diego's a credit to boxing, and if ever there is anybody, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet is Diego Burton. But I think he knew that his level of ability wasn't as it was a few years ago, and he's made the right decision, I think, to retire and concentrate on building his plumbing business, which is fantastic. And all I said to Diego is make sure we all keep in contact, because we do like to keep in contact with boxers. It's not about, oh, he's retired, we don't want to know him anymore. We love Diego, so we want to go out with him with art, where you can come down and see us, and that's what we want to keep in contact. But Brad now moves on upwards. I know there's a question which we will discuss later. But again, it's about smart management, and Brad is definitely a champion in the making, but the skill is how to do it the right way.
Right opportunity, right time, right money.
All of it together, and all of them have to be right for him, and that's what it's about. We're not going to take the wrong fight for the wrong money, and we don't need to. We've got enough within our organisation to find platforms for fighters. We work with other promoters. We don't need some other promoter managers would do, where they can't get their fighters on bigger platforms. We don't need to take the wrong fights, because Brad will be a TV fighter.
So some of the other ones, I mean, just going back to that very quickly after suddenly moving on, I was really impressed with him actually, like Brad, because we've seen him over shorter distance fights, and there are times when he probably goes out quicker than Terry Stewart wants him to, but that, I thought he, as you say, he managed his engine very well for the distance of the fight. And I think as boxing fans, you probably always think back to that Chris Eubank Jr. Billy Joe Saunders fight, where Eubank never knew that he could do the full championship distance.
So we needed to do that.
And so for Brad, it was always that question mark of, yes, he's impressive over 4 and 6 rounders.
What happens when he goes on?
Can he
by the way, when I said that I don't think Diego's a fighter, he was, that wasn't one thing a negative on Brad's performance, because Brad handled him far, far, far easier than Lee Markham did, and also Joe Mullender did, because Lee Markham did stop Diego, but I would say Diego was winning that fight, and Joe Mullender, it was a life and death fight, whereas Brad won virtually every round. So even the best Diego would not have beaten Brad. And the point is, I spoke to Diego about it on Monday. I said, how do you rate Brad compared to the others? He said, as good as, if not better than Mullender and Markham. Both of them have been at English level, and Diego feels that Brad is going to reach higher levels than them, and I think that's very, very good praise to Brad indeed.
Yeah, and I mean, it was maybe a little bit early, the stoppage of Diego.
There was enough. He was
probably 8-9 rounds down.
He was losing the fight, so look, no more punishment. I think it was a really, really good stoppage by the ref. But obviously he could have gone, and it wasn't enough to stop him there and then. But it was only going to be one result, and I think I'd rather see a boxer take 2 less punishment than too much.
And it was lovely actually. I went back to the changing rooms afterwards, and the two of them were sat doing an interview with Fight Talk at the time. But it's just one of those things. It's a privilege for me that most fans don't get to see that, but you get to go and wander back, and then there was Brad and Diego. Brad's all suited up, ready to go for a night out. Diego, he was still looking a little bit kind of shop worn from the fight, but they just sat having a chat together after punching holes in one another for 9 rounds.
So they're both lovely kids, and that's why it was hard for me to watch it. Like Brad said to me afterwards in the ring, you don't look very happy. But there wasn't a disregard of him, but I always feel for the Diego, and close to Diego as well as Brad. I get on both of them.
If it wasn't your fight, you'd be elated.
I'd be jumping for sure, but I can't jump for you. Fighters have to understand, when they're fighting, the 2 fighters that I really like and I get on with, and it happens to be the right fight for them, I can't have any expression. I can't be like that in those fights. Other than that, my God, you've seen with Frank Buglioni when he beat Jose Burton. I'm very excited. If Bradpool ends up fighting Taylor and Jones, trust me, I'll be excited. But in this particular fight, it's about, for me, I'm looking at Diego as a loser and thinking that's probably his last fight. I feel really sad for him. And Brad's going on to greater things and going to have bigger nights. But I'm not going to be jumping around the ring and disrespecting Diego, or you know what I mean. So it's a difficult. I think people to live in my shoes during a fight like that, you have to do it to understand. I don't think some boxers actually understand.
Watching 2 of your kids have a punch up, basically.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
The rest of the card, some of the highlights for yourself. I mean, it was a big 16 fight card.
It's hard for me to to put highlights, I think
Danos Axo.
That man, I spoke to him this afternoon. That man, he is one of the toughest men I've ever seen. You hit him on the chin flush, and he just sits and smiles at you, and then he comes back again. And I said to him today, if you watch this fight, it's just a war, a war for 2 rounds, and in the end, he just clubs them. He just clubs the other guy down. But he's just one tough man. What he needs to do now is to improve the technical side, because I tell you what, if his technical side picks up, and he will develop, he could be a real force in a few years' time.
It's almost like, it reminds me of if you're playing like Fight Night on the computer, you whack power up to like 90 and then just spread the rest of it fairly thinly across the other attributes. That's Danos Axo right now, is that you would not want to be on the end of that right hand of his, and as you say, he just seems to walk through whatever comes back, and he's just it'd be a nightmare.
But he said to me today, which you get, he said, I need 8 or 9 fights like that. He said, rather that he's before I go in deep, very deep. And he's sensible, and he's got a brilliant trainer in Barry O'Connell. It's going to be a fantastic ride. He's back out in September again. And it's going to be exciting to watch, because I'll tell you what, man, you won't want to miss one of Danos Axo.
No, not at all. And also, he brings this phenomenal crowd with him. Yeah. There's like 250 odd people probably in York Hall. Make a hell of a noise. And
fantastic.
As soon as he goes on the attack, like whether he hits or not, like the place just suddenly erupts. It's amazing. Such fun to watch.
It's just great. The whole package around him is fantastic. Again, once he's got to that level, he could easily be somebody that TV would be interested in.
Yeah,
definitely. So, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build our fighters into TV fighters, and that's part of what our master plan is. So that's what we're trying to do. I
thought Ryan Walker handled Bjorklund quite well.
Good fight, that.
Yeah, he was a 6th rounder, wasn't he?
Good fight. It was 59, 57, I think it was.
Yeah,
good fight. And I thought he was good. I thought Louis Isaacs made a good debut. Yeah. I think Bradley Smith was really good after a break. Ozzy Jervio, you missed it. He fought last. I've got to say, that was the best I've ever seen Ozzy Jervio.
But yeah, I had to go, unfortunately, so I missed it.
His foot movement was great.
Was it? I mean, he looked... I'll tell you what, I walked past Ozzy as he was weighing in, or he's waiting to weigh in. And I'll be honest, I didn't recognise him. He's got a bit of a beard going on now, and he trimmed himself down beyond recognition.
You know, before he'd just go... Now he has, after his movement, the guy wasn't the greatest in the world, but he just looked really good. And I said to Ozzy, I thought he looked the best I've ever seen him. But then you've remember the Xavier Miller effect's coming. I think Xavier's a phenomenal trainer.
Yeah.
And I think the key, any fighter out there that is looking for a young trainer on the up, he's one of the stars. There's other good ones in London as well, but Xavier Miller has got something for certain types of fighter.
Yeah.
That's why Jose Lopez has gone there. For certain types of fighter, he's absolutely got it. He won't suit every type of fighter, but for certain fighters that need the certain footwork, need the movement, he's very, very good with that.
If Ozzy can get down to light heavyweight and make that limit, then he'd be a threat. He'd be a real threat.
He looked really good. So he was good. But there was so many good performances from developing fighters, and I could run through 13, 14 of them, but I mean I just was really, really happy with all of them. They've all done very well.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. This Saturday you're busy again. Danny, you're cool again.
Yeah, this time working on the Hay show. Really looking forward to this show. I think obviously got the JoJos fight, which is great. We've got the Matiaski Stephen Simmons fight.
That's a brilliant fight.
Rematch with Waddy Camacho. Looking forward to that.
Danny Cousins.
I think a good fight could be Daryl Church, Ricky Askew. Ricky Askew after last week, but I think that's a good fight. So that'll be, I think that's going to be a competitive fight. I'm looking for, Yusuf Kamari. I love Yusuf Kamari. Yeah. He's fantastic. I think, you've got Linus Udofia, Linus Udofia back on again.
Yeah.
It's Daniel Mendes. You've got, it's a really, really Tunji Ogunya, and all that, but there's some really good talent to watch on Saturday, and there's some really good fights at the end of the night as well. It's a really good show.
If you go, make sure you get there in time for Tunji, because he's gone under the radar. He's one of my favourite fighters to watch.
Exciting, isn't he? He's a floater.
He's a doesn't give a shit fighter. He'll go in deep. And
I like Tunji's a really good fighter and really excited to watch. It's a really, really good show Saturday with Ricky Evans as well.
Yeah.
And he's fighting Jordan Graham. That's going to be a good fight. I'm just looking for they're just all developing fighters. They're all going to be on a bigger platform, on a bigger stage. It's a Channel 5 evening of boxing. There's going to be a lot of important people there. It gives them a chance to showcase their skills. And again, they're not the main events, but they've got a good chance of showcasing their skills. The thing with the TV, just to explain what the TV's happening on Saturday, TV starts at 10:30. And it's JoJos Life, in an 8-rounder. Now that could go early, as you know.
It's Donny Palmer, isn't it?
Palmer. So then then you'll probably see, they'll probably put on the Askin, they're going to film the Askin fight and show it delayed. Yeah. So they'll probably show Askin. But then there's chances of the other kids, if any of these fights go early, to get a Channel 5 showcase. Yeah. So it's a fantastic opportunity of possibly getting on a terrestrial TV platform with 1 million viewers. Yeah.
That's brilliant for them.
Wouldn't it? I'm not saying any of them will get on, but there's a chance. Yeah. If Askin goes the distance, Joyce goes the distance, maybe not, but there's a chance for 1 or 2 of them to get on. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got other fights coming up, which we'll touch on next week, but you've got Frank Buglioni's defence coming up.
Derek Chisora,
Derek Chisora. Is there an opponent yet for Chisora?
No, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for Matchroom to come out. I've been chasing them. He's going to do an 8-rounder. He wanted somebody really tasty on this show. But these shows work slightly differently than normal Matchroom shows.
The ownership.
The ownership is Dillian White owns the show, because when you go, just so anybody doesn't know this, when you fight at the top of the bill on a Matchroom card, you have 2 choices. You either take a purse. If you don't take the purse, you can take ownership of part of the show. Now, the issue with that, I think boxers probably think, by taking ownership of the show, I'm going to make sure loads of money, and they probably realise it's not all that it's written up on. So what then happens is, as they're going through the shows, they probably looking to try and cut back. So I guess what's probably happened with Derek is they've looked at the cost and they probably cut back on his opponent. So, but it's fine. He can do an 8-rounder. He wants fights like Carlos Takam. Yeah. He wants these fights. Going forward, but I do believe it's about Derek Chisora going out and looking good, because he just stunk the place out in Monaco, and his stock is low and he needs to re-raise his stock up, because at the moment people are going, Derek Chisora's finished. Whoever he fights, he's got to come out and look good and produce a good performance. So I don't really care who he fights, as long as he comes out and looks good next week.
Yeah. And then again, we'll look at it again more next week, but Frank Buglioni, Callum Johnson's a great fight. Can't wait for that. And then the week after, you got Miles Shinkwin.
Fight for the English title.
Up in Preston, isn't it?
And I know another bit of news, Arfan Iqbal's fight with Simon Vallily is now going to be on the Matchroom show in Newcastle on the 16th of June.
Yeah. Oh, right into Vallili's backyard. He's a Middlesbrough boy, isn't he?
Yeah. So I think that's an away day, Martin, is due.
Claire, if you're watching.
Martin's going to come to Newcastle.
I've got a mate up there. I can stay there.
I think it'd be quite good for. We could have an away day up in Newcastle. I think we'd be.
I've got a mate I need to go and see up in Newcastle. That'd be handy. Yeah. Oh, whatever the Geordies say. So we'll touch on those more, the upcoming ones next week and the week after. So that moves us on to questions. So I've recycled some from last week when my car broke down, and so I didn't make it here. So apologies if we didn't record. So I've stolen some of them and rolled them over. We'll start off with this one, which Shaz, who is a bloke who invests in young boxers, buys tickets from young boxers, goes to so many shows, and just supports boxing at all levels. I've
got the utmost respect for Shaz. I think it's wonderful what he does, and boxing needs more Shazes. And I do believe that, because genuinely he's there all the time. He really makes an effort to socialise with the boxer. He turns up, he buys tickets. He doesn't ever ring up, ever, and ask for comp.
Yeah,
fantastic.
He's brilliant, and he shares all their content online, and people like Shaz are brilliant. They help out boxers and boxing so much.
Anyway, thanks for the question, Shaz.
But saying that, he's nicked a question off someone else, so take back the thanks. There's one from last week, which he's recycled on my behalf. From Sam Khan. What role or power does a promoter have in either managing or punishing a fighter if they're caught or suspected of taking special meat in their training regime? So, in reference, I think, to the.
I think what we're going to now touch on is the ethics and the decency of people in life. Yeah. I think that people in life make decisions based on money, and then try and justify that decision based on the monetary gain from that particular thing. I think you've raised something this week on your social media, but I'm not going to go into, where you've found some hypocrisy, and it's based around money, right? So again, the same thing is the promoter or manager can do whatever they want, because he's But the point is, even the governing bodies seem to be quite happy to, because of the sanction fees they're getting, to endorse it. So at the end of the day, if you take the situation I had with Prince Patel, he badly behaved. I could have at that stage got him a contract with Eddie Hearn, but I chose that I wanted to release him because I wasn't happy with his behaviour. Now I could have got him a contract, took my percentage and carried on. But it wasn't about the money, it's about ethics and decency and what's right and what's wrong. Unfortunately, in boxing as well as in life, too many people don't have those attributes.
There's a certain lack of ethics, morals, which yet have been highlighted. I had a conversation with a boxer on Saturday night that, again, it's just some of the stuff you hear, like, I'm not, I don't have any financial involvement in the sport.
No.
It's not my job, but I just think, why does anyone get involved sometimes? When you hear some of the horror stories of what goes on.
But also, it's the people that, some of these people that are involved, right? They go there and you think, why have you made that decision? Just go with people, it's quite obvious people that are decent out there. Go with somebody decent.
But again, do your due diligence. Say it nearly every week. Find out from others.
Do you know what I say to boxers that come to me? You see our website with 100 boxers on it. Go and I can tell you everything. I'm telling you the truth. But go and approach anyone randomly and ask them.
Yeah.
That's the best way you can get a reference. Don't take what the spill and bullshit you get given. Go and actually do your research. But unfortunately, most don't.
Yeah, no, I agree. Question from Brian Kentman. It's Cheltenham this week, so I have gambling on my mind. Does Steve think it would be viable or even allowed, I'm not sure on the board rules, to have bookmakers at the venue, as online bookies don't cover small hall shows?
Something we've looked at?
Have you? It's a great question, that, actually.
It's actually something we've actually looked at. And we approached your call about this 18 months ago. You got issues with the council, issues with the board. I think it is viable.
So you have a little tote on the
I think it's viable. You'd have to overcome the biggest problem, though. I'm not sure is going to be the boxing board. Although I haven't asked the boxing board, I think the biggest problem was the local council at your call, and that was our problem there at your call. Was the council had a problem with it. So in terms of, I think it's a great idea. I think that it would be quite easy for us. I mean, I don't want to divulge something I'm working on, but there's an element of something that you can do for bookmakers within boxing, and it's something we looked at last year and we are going to revisit. So let's leave it like that.
So you wouldn't necessarily have to do it yourself, you could third party it.
Correct.
Right.
Because you need a bookmaker's license, and that bookmaker needs to have a license to be on site and get authorization from the council. Yeah. And there's a couple of other things you can do, but there's also a potential way around that perfectly legally we're looking at, and it's something over the next 3 or 4 months. We try and be innovative, as you know, so we're looking at something at the moment. So, but I have parked it because we've had more busier things to do with. But as soon as we get these shows out of the way, it's something we're going to do.
That could be a real income stream. The amount of people that go there want to bet on their mate or whatever. I'd bet against my mate. Then
the thing is that you're not going to be able to tip on. You're not going to bet on such and such to beat their journeyman. It has to be more framed than that. So it have to be
main events,
and also perhaps and also if you wanted to bet on, you'd have to do at least 4 fights in together and predict the right scores.
Yeah.
And for smallish stakes, just for a bit of fun. But then the main events you could have a full open book on.
Yeah. All right. Mikey at Analysed Boxing, big supporter of the show, so thank you, Mikey.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Given you said Junior Salba is destined to win a world title, how quickly will you be looking to track him? Will it be the well-respected traditional route, and how long do you think it will be before a major promoter snaps him up if he impresses?
Let's go back to what I started off with. I'm sure I could get a major promoter to sign him on a long-term contract now.
Right. I mean, there's a story, isn't there? Promoters love stories.
I mean, obviously, I'm not. You probably appreciate. I haven't just signed Junior Salba and not done any work.
Yeah.
So I've done my work, and I'm going to speak to Junior on Thursday. But obviously, I spoke to Junior on Saturday about a couple of ideas I had, and he was totally in agreement with them. And it's not about. You see, the point. Going back to major promoters. Sometimes you can sign with a major promoter, and it's the worst thing you can ever do. Yeah. And I'm not singling out one promoter. I mean, you know that I've got fighters with with various promoters I work with, so it's not singling. And I will talk about foreign promoters rather than UK. I've seen contracts from foreign promoters. They're slave contracts, right? And you sign these up. You've just signed away your life, your rights, your future. It's really difficult, and that's why boxers sometimes are out of action for 2 years.
Yeah.
So it isn't about signing up with a major promoter. It's about doing the right deal with a major promoter.
Yeah.
So that's the key. And if you're good enough, the time you want to sign anything more than a very short-term contract, is when you are in a position where you are wanted by more than one, and you're wanted at a high level, because that way you can negotiate fair. And I've as you know, everybody knows, I've got Frank Bollioni signed to Eddie Hearn at Matchroom. We looked at all the options, but Eddie Hearn was very, very fair on the contract that he offered. So at the end of the day, those type of deals that we've done for Frank are perfectly right. There are other boxers in contracts with promoters that I don't think the deals are right. So it's a key. That's what a good manager does. They understand the difference between a good contract and a bad contract. I would argue that many managers, and I've got evidence to prove that, don't understand the difference, and boxers get a bad deal.
And speaking of overseas fights, promoters, etc., asked me on it, Richard Comi.
I love that. It was one of the best things.
What a fight as well.
Richard Comi, if anybody doesn't know, he's managed by my good friend Mickey Amu. And Richard Comi, when he came from Ghana, he fought 3 times on our show. Won the Commonwealth title on our show, won a Commonwealth Eliminator on our show. And what a lovely kid. And he's now been made mandatory for the world title against Robert Easter Jr.
In a rematch.
And I think he'll beat him the second time. And I was so happy for Richard and his manager. It was absolutely wonderful to see that a lad that had his breakthrough title fight on our show in your call now fights for a world title. And what I want to say to all the boxers out there, don't say that with good management, and Mickey's a good manager like I am, don't say with a good manager you can't be brought along properly and hit the heights, because you can.
Yeah.
And people will say, I heard Terry on your thing saying, oh, they've got to be better than to fight on a Goodwin show. Well, that's rubbish, because there's been a lot of good fighters who won titles that have come through our things, and they are shows that help to build a fighter towards those big titles and those big events.
Yeah, and he was brilliant Saturday night against an undefeated lad.
Proved, wasn't he?
His measurement of distance. Every time that lad came forward, his feet were just quick, out the way, but he'd throw the right hand on the end of it, and he was catching that. You can see why Eddie Hearn doesn't want to put Luke, or didn't ever want to put Luke Campbell in with him, can't you? Yeah, and never will. He would demolish Luke Campbell. Yeah, he'd demolish every lightweight, I believe, in the Matchroom stable. I don't even think
do you know the one I think is good though is Ritson.
I think he's good, but you can't say. Yeah, he beat up Joe Murray, but
he's potentially very good. But I agree. But he's got time to improve. But the ones that are up there, Cardles and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean I like watching Ritson as well, because he
looks like he could be very good.
He goes with intent, and that's what I like about it. Every punch he throws, you think he's trying to hurt something.
But isn't it great that Comi gets world title? Do you know, that's one thing if when he gets his world title shot, I'll definitely fly over for that.
Yeah,
definitely going to go for that.
Excellent. Colin at CM Sports Agency, which boxer or boxers part of your stable are you most looking forward to see their progress in the next 2 years, 5 fights or less?
I'm not going to answer that, not because I don't care, because do you imagine every fighter I've got that's less than 5 fights is going to be upset with me?
Yeah.
And that's just it's just wrong. I'm going to leave that to you, because I think that's right. because for me, I can't mind. Do you imagine a kid that's 2-0 is doing really well? So you didn't mention me. It's a very difficult thing, because there's so many so good. So I'll pass it on to you.
I'll pick Youssef Kamari. Yeah. I enjoy watching Youssef. I think he's a good talent. Mo Garib. Mm-hmm. I think it's looked phenomenal. Both 2 young, decent talents. There were loads, and if I'm honest, I probably don't know all their names either. It's what happens when you get 100 odd fighters. But there are always new lads coming through. Yeah, I'm sure you live and breathe it.
I know. I've heard managers with 30 fighters forget their names. I mean, we know every single one, what weight they are, when they're fighting, what they're doing. Yeah, we're on it. But they're both really.
Those are 2 ones that stand out from the ones that I've seen. They've been very, very impressive. And I hope they've had less than 5 fights, or else I've ruined it.
Yeah, they have.
Brilliant. Craig from Fight Talk. How can you tell when it's time to cut ties with a fighter, behavioural or performance-based?
Well, the only time that I've probably cut away from 5 boxers in my time.
So the Prince Patel one you mentioned earlier,
that's behaviour based. I will cut ties with a boxer if they come to the stage when they're pulling out of fights. And they continue.
There's one that's just sprung to mind.
Yeah, keep pulling out fights for various reasons. In the end, I can't spend my energy dealing with a fighter who doesn't fight.
Yeah.
So on that basis, if a fighter continually pulls out of fights, then you've got to let them go. if they're performant, so therefore it would be on the fact that they're just not fighting, or their behaviour's bad. If their performance dips, then it's my job as manager to understand why their performance is dipping, and if that then means it's a change of trainer, or a change of home life, or a change of diet, or a change of where they live, or a change of how they train, then we need to meet, talk, and try and help them through it. So performance-based is my job to help them. Behaviour-based, if it sinks to really bad levels, I have to go.
Yeah. So I mean, performance-based, someone like a Waddy Camacho is a perfect example, isn't he? Where he was partnered up with Terry Coulter.
Yeah.
Because that training style was.
That's why I recommended to him, and he loves him. He's works really well for him.
Yeah.
And I do that. Jose Lopez, I've just partnered up with Xavier Miller. I think that's the best matchup I could have produced. Kay Prosper, I patched up with Xavier Miller. There's other fighters that. I've patched up fighters with Terry Stewart in the past.
Yeah.
And I think the fighters that I bring to them are the right. Bradpool's I put to Terry Stewart, for example. Perfect trainer for him.
Paying off.
And it works really well. So no, we look at each particular trainer. There's others that I think are coming, like Josh Burnham, Tony Peel, people like that I will also match fighters up with. But we look there to Michael Devine, I sent to Tony Peel.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right trainer. So understanding your boxers, what they want, how they train, what their mentality is about finding the right trainer. That's what I do.
Dan Graham, Steve's opinion on other small hall promoters and managers, especially London-based ones, individually. So there's probably going to have to be a fair bit of maybe biting your tongue, maybe not. We'll find out.
You fire names at me, I'll answer the question.
I'll fire names. Mo Pryor. We'll start with Mo.
Mo Pryor, lovely guy.
I like Mo.
Lovely guy. Great for boxing. Maybe a little bit naive. Business not. When I say this, because I love Mo, he's a really nice man. He's a very good businessman because he wouldn't have been successful in his main world.
Yeah.
In boxing, a bit naive, because sometimes people take their main jobs and they're brilliant at them, and then they go into hobby, whether I've been in horse racing before and boxing, and all their great business acumen from the world that they've made all their money sort of goes out the window, whereas I still bring all those things across to boxing.
Yeah.
So I think a little bit naive, but a very good man, and you couldn't say a bad word about him.
No, I really like Mo. He's a nice guy.
I've got a man I'd go out and have a drink with.
Yeah.
Great man. I really like him.
I was going to go for MTK. They haven't officially got a promoter in London, have they? So
that's difficult because there isn't any. Because Lee does the event manager and he's not a license holder, so it's really hard. Because with MTK, the setup is the boxes are managed by various people around the UK, so it's a very hard thing to comment on because there's not a set person.
Mickey Helliott.
Mickey Helliott's been around for a long time. When I came into boxing, he was the Don of London boxing. I spoke to him the other day. He said he's concentrating more on his construction business. So I think.
Dinner shows and.
Yeah, dinner shows and construction. I think he makes a lot of money from his property empire, and his boxing his influence in the world of boxing has faded a bit. I think he'd even admit that. He used to be matchmaker, he used to be quite heavily profiled, and his influence has fallen, and the amount of boxers he's got has fallen significantly. I don't know why that is, but because of that, I guess he's now moving on and concentrating on his construction business. So I think Mickey isn't as big a player as he wants, but I think he's very successful in other walks of life.
Yeah. Are there any that I'm missing? Any obvious names?
A few.
Are there? Well, there were some that I'm. Okay. There aren't any that spring to mind.
They are, but yeah, probably best not to ask.
That I can ask.
You're probably best not to ask me.
Yeah. And I know. Anthony Ridley, have you had any contact from the World Boxing Super Series about any of your fighters being involved in season 2?
The answer is no, not officially. The Super Series Season 2 has not officially been announced. We're quite aware of what weights they're likely to be. I get a good relationship with the Sowlands. When it is appropriate, I will discuss the fighters and the weights and the things with them. At the moment, it isn't totally appropriate, bearing in mind that where they are in the level of the planning and where my fighters are in the level of fighting.
Yep, fair enough. Final one from Johnny B. Good. It was a good win for Bradpool's at the weekend. What are the odds on the Southern Area straightener with Taylor Jones getting made soon?
Well, do you know what the funny thing is? As you walked in today,
it was a phone call.
It was a phone call. And, we had a phone call from the representative of Taylor Jones. Bradpool's is not going to go on an away show and sell tickets, right? They're not going to do that because number one, he's not from down here.
Yeah.
And we've been building him. Number two, we have, as a Goodwin Boxing as a platform, could develop our fighters onto TV. So he's not going to take that fight unless he's being paid.
Yeah.
And if somebody hasn't got the investment from TV to be able to stage that fight, then they can't stage it. So the bottom line was, I did say to them, come and make us an offer.
Yeah. So you would anticipate for Brad to go on to an MTK show to fight Taylor Jones, he would be given a purse, not a ticket deal,
purse, yeah.
A decent
but
purse.
No, that's what we would want if they want to offer that fight to us. Now,
because alternatively, you'll stage it, Brad sells his tickets as usual, and then you'd offer Tay a ticket deal, presumably. Or
we could offer him a purse. But the other thing is this: we are in a different position than most, right? Because Wally Camacho, Danny Cousins are fighting on the undercard on a televised show, both on purses. Yeah. None of them have they get tickets as well as a purse, but they want a fair financial deal, right? So not one of them is having to sell tickets to pay for the other one on Saturday.
Yeah.
So consequently, with us having these type of setups going forward, and we've got quite a few of them, we don't need our fighters to take bad deals. We could just wait until we can get them the right deal.
Yeah.
So Taylor Jones probably hasn't got that opportunity, so he has to either take an away fight against someone like Felix Cash, or they have to come up with a deal for Brad, because we're not desperate to take a bad deal. No, as I say, with Brexit, no deal is better than a bad deal, because Brad's going to get his time anyway, so is Linus, but we can get them on the right shows at the right time. But if they'd like to make an offer, then we would consider it. But I do understand, by the way, this is no criticism of them, because I know what position that they're in.
Yeah, so you're almost stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place, that you have a fighter with a belt that, as you say, presumably someone like a Felix Cash has got an interest in. Maybe Eddie doesn't always go down that route.
No, but he could do.
So it's a risk there, because that's a hell of a fight. Felix is a legit.
But he'll move on. If that becomes a fight, he gets a well paid. He probably loses to Felix Cash, but he could get the fight and take the fight. The problem you've then got is, if you haven't got the platforms or the fun or to actually stage them, you can't attract fighters to fight. So you get fighters that have got they get stuck.
Yeah.
What do you do next? That's why I've spent so much time trying to build up relationships that we can develop fighters onto platforms.
Yeah.
And so therefore we're in no desperation to take
a poor deal just to get the lad to fight.
Yeah, Miles Shinkwin, we're going away to fight Liam Conway. Why are we doing that? Number one, we think we win. Number two, he's getting paid.
Yeah.
Right. And number three, we think that rebuilds his career back from Jake Ball, and I've got him in English title fight after a loss. So that makes perfect sense for us, right? Different points of their career. Miles is trying to recapture. Brad's just on the start. The world's his oyster. We're a young lad. We're going to build him into a TV fighter. Blah blah blah. We're not going to go and fight a hard fight. We think he wins, but he's still got to be paid, right? So we don't want to be. He's not going to go away to fight for nothing. So, and even at home, it doesn't. We'll stage a fight like that at home, but when we've got the right platform, it's the right time for the right platform. For example, we've got fights lined up in May, but those are already pretty much done and dusted. So we're June, and those fights. So we're looking more towards the latter of the year, and Brad will be one of those fighters that we will be looking to develop on platforms. But we can't be, because Taylor Jones hasn't got a platform to go out on. That's not a problem.
Yeah. So, and alternatively, you wait until he's mandated, and then it goes to purse bids.
That's even better for us.
Yeah.
That's an even better
solution. You can dictate it.
That's a better solution, because then we could then they have to put out, the other parties have to outbid us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I much prefer mandatory positions than voluntaries. Much easier to get the deal we want.
Yeah. All right, excellent. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for the questions, as always. We'll be back next week to talk Buglioni, Chisora, and the fallout from Saturday down to York Hall.
It's going to be a good card Saturday, so get down. I think there's a few tickets left, so get hold of one of the boxers. I always say that.
Yep.
Got to buy from the boxer. The boxer is the man that is out there trying to work hard and get paid for it, so go and buy from the boxers.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.